Hello everybody, this is Out of Characters and we're here today with a very special announcement. I am now a major content creator on the Decade Master Duel Discord. That's been my dream for a while, is to become a major content creator. And you get that by the more important metric of hitting 10,000 subscribers. I wanted to thank you all for making this possible. I said it at the end of my last video, but it's really been a bit of a dream come true for all of this to come together, and seeing your support for my channel is just, it means so much to me, man. I really did not think I would see anywhere near the level of success that I've seen in the past year and a half. So this video is divided into two segments. So the first segment is going to be a bit of a channel update. I'm going to talk about where I've been and where we are going to go in the future. And the back half of the video is a Q&A. I'll answer some questions you all submitted. So you can click on the timestamp in the description if you're more interested in that. So it's been a minute. Let's talk about where I've been the last couple of months. So a lot of things have happened in my life. I got married to my partner of 10 years, which was really, really exciting. It was pretty much the best day of my life. I also have been going to regionals, and that was for the purpose of getting my invite, which I did achieve at the Lansing WCQ Regional. So I will be at Nats this year. Whether or not you see me, I guess, is a different story. The third thing that happened is I got sick like twice, so that kind of slowed me down for a little. Also, Slay the Spire 2 came out, which was another big hit to my productivity. I know a lot of you don't really care about the excuses that video essayists give for not uploading, so that's going to be all of them. The issue that this has kind of shown to me is that my channel isn't really going anywhere with the amount that I upload. Taking this many months off is not really a viable strategy if I want to get my channel from this level to the next order of magnitude for subscriber count. So in order to do that, I think that I need to change my strategy a little bit. There's still going to be video essays, of course. You all are here for video essays, at least I hope you're here for video essays. So I'm not going to give that up. I'd like to still upload video essays at around the same rate that I am currently doing. However, I would also like to supplement that with a couple of extra videos. I want to start releasing discussion videos that are a little more quick to produce. I don't want to have to think about whether or not I can release a video on something, because by the time the video is finished, it's going to not be news anymore. I had a bit of a problem with this in relation to when the time rules came out. I was thinking about releasing a video on that, and when Genesis was announced, I also was thinking about releasing a video on that. But I realized if I spent like 2 months script writing and recording and editing, by the time my video came out, those discussions would be dead in the water, and I don't know if I would have had that much to add to them at that point. What I'm thinking is I would like to have another format for videos I produce, maybe following like the PowerPoint formula that is shown to be successful in a lot of other people's channels. My other big piece of news is I will be opening a public Discord. This is going to have two main functions. The first function is that it's going to help me get to know you all better, which I think is something that's been missing a little bit on my channel. Some people have liked how there's like a lack of parasociality on the Out of Characters channel, and I think that's all well and good. However, I think it's also cutting me off from connecting with my community to a little bit, and it will also give you all a way to confirm that I'm not like dead in between uploads. The last reason for it is that it will be a place where you can go to see whether or not I am streaming. I am going to be live streaming on twitch.tv. I would like this to be on Saturdays, probably starting in the evenings, maybe around 6 p.m. I haven't really figured out a firm schedule for it though, and I might adjust the times. I'm going to start out streaming once a week, but I would like to move it up to twice a week if I can. I need to figure out a second day that would work well for me for that though. I will be live streaming TCG, laddering, and deck building because I wanted to combine this with the tournament preparation that I'm already doing for the events that I'm going to. I'd also like to maybe do a little bit of Master Duel, and I'd love to do Slay the Spire 2 because that is a game that I've found is very fun and interesting to me, so I'm going to be playing that regardless of whether or not you are watching. I'll make some announcements leading up to it, but the first Out of Characters live stream will take place on June 20th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. So you can go to twitch.tv/outofcharacters to watch the inaugural Out of Characters Twitch stream. With that, let's move on to the Q&A portion. Sassmass asks, what's your favorite genre of music? I like a lot of folk punk, ska punk, and math rock. My three favorite bands would be Streetlight Manifesto, Penelope Scott, and Mike Kroll. Andrea Marini asks, you only have 10k? This is criminal, LMAO. I thought you at least had 100k minimum. Maybe one day. My question is, do you play chess? I do not play chess. I played a little bit as a kid in elementary school, and I watched some chess content to help me understand the game since it's interesting to me, but when I play competitive games, I like to make sure that I am practicing quite a bit. I want to stay on top of my game with them, and I don't really see myself being able to devote myself to multiple games at a time. I've picked YuGiOh, that's the one I'm going to stick with. Balkani5051 says, what are your personal goals for YuGiOh long term? Are you striving for a regional or a YCS top, or do you prefer locals/alternative formats? I compete in almost exclusively TCG. I would like a regional top. I'm not sure I would be able to get a YCS top. I feel like the more I practice, the more I realize how good those people are. I think a top would add a lot of credibility to the videos that I put out, but I don't know if I have it in me to do it, but I'm going to do my best. Meaning Tilt says, what is your personal favorite deck to play now and historically? I like a lot of decks that have trigger effects off of fusion summoning. So right now I've played a lot of branded Dracotail for the last couple of months, and I'm switching over to pure branded. Historically, one of my favorite decks to play has been Shaddoll, and I'm excited to try out the new Shaddoll support, but probably in Genesis. Moonatic says, apart from Jesse Cotton, what are some of your other inspirations to make these types of essays? Is there any other kind of genres of games you're interested in their competitive scenes? Aside from Jesse Cotton, I have a couple of other inspirations. MBT YuGiOh actually used to put out some videos like the one that I referenced in my previous video that Jesse put out. And my style has been compared a lot to Core A Gaming, and that's because I've watched a lot of Core A Gaming. I like Core A Gaming a lot, and I think the fact that my videos have been compared to his is a huge compliment. Kyler504 says, sexiest YuGiOh monster. Should I answer this one? Snazzy YuGiOh asks, why are you always out of characters? Can't you just get more? My username comes from Minecraft, actually. When I was like making my Minecraft account in middle school, I was trying to pick a username, and the one that I wanted couldn't fit in the terminal. It was too many characters. It said I was out of characters, so I thought it would be funny to just switch my name to that instead. I don't remember what the original username was supposed to be. What's funny about out of characters as a username is many platforms won't have enough characters for you to be able to type it out fully, and they just cut it short, and I always find that very funny when it's like out of character and you can't fit the last part of it in. Gigs Pixels says, what is your process in preparing a video from choosing a topic to posting it? This is kind of an involved question. I would say that when I have an idea for a video, I put it into a document, and when I am ready to make a new video, I will go down the document and pick what I think is something that I feel the most passionate about and has some examples that I can find. I spend a period of time researching, and most of that research is figuring out what examples I can use to show in the video. My videos are primarily analysis of gameplay. I like to make sure that I carefully select which matches I'm showing in order to illustrate the point that I want to talk about. After I have enough material to form a coherent argument, I put together an outline in like a Word document, and I write a script based off of that outline, and I include little notes in the script about what I should show on screen at any one time. Once that script is finished, I send it to Dan to edit it, and I make some changes based off of his feedback. Then I record it using Audacity. Once the recording is done, I put it into Adobe Premiere Pro and start incorporating all the footage and visual effects. And this is the part that I really dislike, and it takes a very long time because I don't like it. But once that is done, I have the finished video and I make a thumbnail for it and do all the random other stuff like the captioning and the chapters and the description and the YuGiOh org article, and then the video is done. YuGiOh Kid 3438 says, I love how in-depth you get about the topics of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh and its intricacies. When did you first find an interest in this particular niche of content? I would say that if you look back through my channel, you can see a lot of my old work. I used to put out video essays on non-Yu-Gi-Oh related topics, which is kind of how I learned to video edit my audio, and edit photos. My first video as far as Yu-Gi-Oh as a topic for a video essay was actually a response video to a video from Mark the Page, and I thought his video was very interesting, but I had a lot that I wanted to say on it, and it got to the point where I was writing such a long YouTube comment that I figured I might as well write a script for it instead, and I wrote a script for it and made the video essay in response to his, and it did really well, and I figured I would make another one, and that's how I kind of ended up here. Pal Me Too YuGiOh says, do you do YouTube full time? If not, is that something you would like to do if the opportunity presents itself? I do not do YouTube full time. I have a day job. I work as a software developer, actually. I would like to do it full time if possible. It's going to take a while from where I am today. I think I will have to change something about my channel fundamentally. I'm not saying I'm not going to make video essays anymore because I really like doing that, and it's clear that you guys like it. So those are going to stay, but I have to figure out a way to put out videos a little more consistently than I do, and maybe one day I can make that dream a reality. Fuchs Suta says, have you ever committed a crime? Yes, I have. Spry Carrot says, what player from another card or board game would, in your prediction, have the most success at Yu-Gi-Oh? Also, red button or blue button? Which player from another game would have the most success at Yu-Gi-Oh? I think the person that comes to mind for me would be Nigel Richards. This guy, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's just like crazy. I think the feat that he's known for is like memorizing the French dictionary to win a Scrabble tournament in France despite not knowing French. I've watched a little bit of footage from his games playing Scrabble before, and the words that he can come up with that he conjures from nothing are incredible. I think he would be very good at figuring out which Yu-Gi-Oh lines are the best with what resources he has access to, and I don't think he would ever forget a card effect. I would pick the blue button, even though that's probably a little stupid, but I think if enough people pick the blue button, we can save everybody. The red button just strikes me as a little cynical. Stiller says, which cards give you the most dopamine to top deck? The most dopamine, I would say, would come from board breakers. A lot of the time when you are going second and you have not opened anything, you are waiting around on the hopes that your sixth card is a board breaker, and I just think Forbidden Droplet for me is the board breaker that hits the most in these situations. Droplet even by itself. I mean, not by itself, you have to tribute stuff for it, but it can turn a hand that does nothing into a hand that can play through quite a bit. And because of that, I think drawing it as your 6th card really does something to your mental a little. It feels real good. The Emily Burning Abyss says, have you ever considered starting up some sort of wheel-based show perhaps with your friends who play Yu-Gi-Oh or something? I hear those are all the rage these days. That's very interesting that you should propose that. I don't know who I would pick for such a show if it were to come to the Out of Characters channel. I've considered it. I think that these sorts of long-term series are best for channels that already have a consistent audience through the personality of the creator. I don't really think that I'm there yet. Maybe one day that kind of thing will come to my channel, but I like doing what I'm doing right now, and I would like to continue bringing the highest quality video essays that I can to the channel. Navy of Antarctica says, how many characters did it take you to become Out of Characters? Probably 1, to be honest. I mean, I've been called this for a while, so I must have ran out pretty quickly. Alright, let's switch over to Twitter. There's a couple on Twitter. Momo Ren says, congrats, what's your Yu-Gi-Oh origin story? Hello, Momo. Back in 2015, I mean, I played Yu-Gi-Oh a long time ago when I was a little child, like a lot of people did, and I put it down when it got banned from my school. We were no longer able to play it during recess. Because of that, I didn't play for probably around 8 years, maybe. In 2015, I picked it back up because some of my friends from high school were getting back into it. And I played incredibly casually on like Dueling Network with them for a couple of years. I played a lot of Duel Links and made a number of friends through that I still talk to. My claim to fame actually from that era is I designed one deck that was the best deck of a singular Duel Links format, and I'll link the article that I wrote for Duel Links meta in the description of this video if you want to read it. That was my first foray into Yu-Gi-Oh journalism of any kind. I'm what you would call an orbiter, where I had like an interest in Yu-Gi-Oh but not enough to actually buy a deck and go to locals. So it took me a while to actually show up to a tournament with a deck that was reasonable. I started going to locals on and off in 2018 playing World Chalice, and I moved on to a variety of other casual decks before I started playing Branded. And once I started playing Branded, I got better at the game and more serious about the game. I went to my first regional with Malice in 2025, and I've been going to regionals and my first YCS in 2025 and into 2026. Onks, Dragon Mommy VTuber says, awesome, congrats. Who's your favorite melee god? I'm a big fan of Mewtwo King and Hbox. I like how passionate Hbox is about the game. He has an incredible force of charisma. I like Mewtwo King's ability to break down games and systems in his own way. And I like the variety of characters he plays. You can always count on Mewtwo King to bring the right character for the job, so I think that's very interesting to watch for the time that he was competing. Slyly Ramondo says, will there be a video essay on the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Market Watch content? There's a great topic to invite MST TV team, especially with MST Tombox on this matter. I do not really have a lot of interest in this side of the game. I buy my cards from backpack vendors and local game stores, and I just pay whatever the price is for the card that I need. I don't really collect rare cards in any significant capacity. No hate to any of these creators or the people that like that kind of content, it's just not for me. Alright, and moving on to the Blue Sky posts, Vampire Ian says, what do you see for the future of Yu-Gi tubing based on your experience? This is a very good question. In my opinion, I would like to think that the future of Yu-Gi tubing is in high effort content. And it's not necessarily because of my own videos. That I don't think it's because I'm trying to cope. I don't think my videos have like tremendous broad market appeal. It's something that I would like to work on and in a way without sacrificing how technical they are. But what I'm talking about are videos from channels like Squiddies, actually. Squiddies is a really good example for it. I don't know if you've looked at Squiddies' YouTube stats, but he is growing at probably an unprecedented rate for a Yu-Gi-Oh content creator. I think he's gone from like, I don't know, I think he's doubled his subscriber count in the last year, I would say, at least. He's doing this because he can make content that's watchable by people who are orbiters to the Yu-Gi-Oh scene. The videos are interesting to the core Yu-Gi-Oh audience, but they can also be watched by people with a passing interest in Yu-Gi-Oh, but not enough to actually seek out the game to play themselves. I think this sort of content is very important for attracting people to the scene because it provides like a doorway for you to get into Yu-Gi-Oh as a whole. It's something that's watchable if you're not a regular Yu-Gi-Oh viewer, but it can put you down the rabbit hole of becoming invested in the game. I think these sorts of videos by Squiddies and honestly Yifan / Mono Analysis are really good ways for these casual orbiters to get more of an interest in the game, and then they can seek out channels that are more core to the Yu-Gi-Oh audience from there. Harry, Mr. Video Games Are Bad, says, how do you consider the challenges of talking about one of the most complicated games on the planet to a general YouTube audience? Do you just accept that Yu-Gi-Oh videos are just for the people that know about and play the game, or do you still think about outside viewers? This, I think, is one of the core challenges for my channel, because I want to provide videos that are interesting to the core Yu-Gi-Oh audience, and that's what's interesting to me to talk and write about. But I would like as much as I can to make these videos digestible for people that might only know the basics of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's really, really hard. So you'll notice in my videos that for what I've been trying to do is that for every important card effect that is talked about in my video, I try to give a synopsis of it or like show it on screen for people to read. I want people to not have to look up what any of the cards that I'm talking about do during my video, so that my video can be watched by people who just know how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! But that's already kind of a big ask, right? Like, you already have to know about how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! To watch an Out-of-Characters video, and I haven't really figured out a way to solve that problem yet, but I would like to make sure that my videos can be seen by the widest group of people that they can be without sacrificing what I think makes them interesting and unique for the people that like them already. NR YuGiOh says, congrats on 10k. I'd love something about playing from behind, how to stabilize, or how or when to take a risk. What makes a play desperate versus playing to your outs, or I guess in Yu-Gi-Oh terms, going second. Not looking for a specific deck, but I guess common ways various decks manage to stabilize. I would say that plays that are desperate and playing to their outs are often the same. I don't really think there's much of a difference. If you're in a bad situation, you're in a bad situation, and it's alright to be in a bad position and to do what you can to attempt to win. And there's a number of games that are winnable even if on paper you should lose. You shouldn't underestimate players' ability to defeat themselves while under pressure or in a moment of weakness. As far as how to go second, I think when you are watching your opponent set up their turn and looking over your cards, if you do not have disruptions, you should be thinking about what your plan is. Concocting a plan to go second is very important. And what I mean by a plan is like, what order do you want to deploy your cards in? What are you going to do if your opponent interacts with these cards, with the interactions that they have shown you or the other interactions that they could possibly have? A common idea for Yu-Gi-Oh is that often when you're going second, you want to save your strongest push for last, your most impactful thing, like your branded fusion, your Rahu Draco Tail, your Mathmech Circular, your heavy polymerization in Lunalight for this kind of thing. You want to get everything that you can out of the way first so that when you use your best card, you can get the most value out of it. If you can bait out your opponent's disruptions with the things that don't matter and jam your strongest card, there's a good chance you will win that game. A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh is tricking your opponent into using their strongest disruption on something that is less important to your hand's success. Googly eyes on Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I do love this Blue Sky account says, what does your overall process and decision making for creating videos look like? I did talk about that a little bit earlier, so you can scroll up to that question. Evilise says, not sure if you drink, but if so, which Yu-Gi-Oh monster would you most want to crack a cold one with? That's a good question. I think the monster that I would pick would be probably Warrior Digreffer, to be honest. I'm a big fan of Neo the Magic Swordsman, but he's not really... I don't think he's done that many things. I don't think he would tell a good story. Warrior Digreffer, he's in everything. That guy has been in so many cards. He probably has so many things that he could say to you while drinking beer. Artrix says, a simple question would be, what is your video setup like? What mic do you use? What programs do you use? Well, I talked about using Audacity. I use the Adobe suite for my videos, so Photoshop, Premiere Pro. It's expensive. I'm getting punked. I know how to use it, so it kind of is what it is. I use a Shure SM7B with an audio interface that I was gifted in college. My microphone's pretty good. I don't really know about the audio interface though. I record all the footage that I use in my videos with OBS. Fake Dad Real Friend says, what is a deck that stands out to you for using the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh in a unique way to meet their goals? Example, Enneacraft got me thinking about this. They sometimes use simultaneous effects go on chain in order to forcibly make upcoming chains big enough for Espia to negate. This is a really good question, and you could probably write a lot about this sort of thing. The thing that I would immediately think about is cards that can be have their quick effect chain blocked. I'm talking about stuff like Draco Tail Gulamel is probably the most prevalent answer to this. There's an Art Mage card like this too, the Big Fusion. Nerva, the Power Patient of Creation. And the Paleos do, but I don't think those are quick effects really. So the commonality between all these three cards is that they all have an activation condition that is usually meant to activate in response to one of your own cards. And what's interesting about these sorts of cards is it gives your opponent the ability to chain block it with like everything. So if they have a quick effect, even if it's something kind of innocuous, they can use it to chain block your Gulamel, chain block your Nerva, chain block your Paleozoic in the graveyard. I think this sort of thing is really interesting because the resource of just having cards or effects that you can activate is not something that people think of very much as an important resource in Yu-Gi-Oh! But in Draco Tail mirrors or Paleo mirrors, or presumably Art Mage matchups, I've never played Art Mage other than briefly in Genesis online. You really have to think a lot about what cards you're allowing your opponent to activate and whether or not you can deny your opponent from activating their Gulamel or Paleo across the course of the whole turn. I find these cards very fun to play with, and I hope that they print more of them. Called by the Dave says, congrats on 10k. Can you make me a halfway decent duelist? That's a good question. I don't know if I can make you a halfway decent duelist, but I'm pretty sure that you can make you a halfway decent duelist. So, gotta put in the reps. Good luck to you. The Almighty Ferret Lord asks, what question do you most want to be asked, and how would you like to answer it? The question that I most like to be asked is, OutOfCharacters, I love your videos. What can I do to help support you? And I would say that subscribing to me on Patreon is one of the best things you can do to support my videos.
Good plug, classy plug.
Patreon right now is one of the most important ways that video essayists can build up to being able to do their channel full time. And you can find mine at patreon.com/OutOfCharacters. Thanks to Dan Parker, MBT YuGiOh, Ray, Drumstep, Rinrin, Barfa, Stephen Marmerstein, Megaru00, RobTickBot, and Errol Ratliff for supporting me on Patreon. For the rest of you, I am out of characters, so I guess this video is over. Be well until next time.
Can you watch the out of characters video?
If you were to say who